If you think about the internet in the past, like in the late 2000s or early 2010s, it feels more alive then than it does now. This is mostly due to nostalgia and looking at the past through rose colored glasses, but also it was more alive back then, wasn't it? It feels like society as a whole was happier back then. If you remember at the start of this year, almost everybody was saying 2026 is the new 2016, but it didn't work. And it didn't work because people are terrified of being cringe these days. It literally feels like you can't do anything without being called cringe or corny, and today I wanted to talk about that a little bit. Hi, I'm Glitterbug, and this is my first ever video essay. Today I'll be talking about cringe culture. I'm not gonna go fully into depth because it is my first video and I'm not the best at editing. I'm literally recording this on my laptop webcam, but maybe in the future I'll talk about this topic again and kind of dive a bit deeper. I have like some 2020 inspired makeup on to honor my cringe 2020 self who wanted to dress like this so bad. But anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. So, what is cringe anyway? Cringe used to be described as secondhand embarrassment, but now the term is used as more of an insult. Calling something cringe is a way to mock or ridicule it. It generally refers to anything that is seen as embarrassing. I've been called cringe more times than I can count, and it definitely changes how you act socially, just like any kind of bullying can, and that's what it is, bullying. I have generalized anxiety disorder, which makes it very hard to exist. I think one of the things that I'm anxious about most of the time is being cringe. I'm always afraid of being judged or bullied or called cringe because these days you can get made fun of for anything. You literally can't do anything without either being made fun of or being afraid you'll be made fun of. At least that's my experience. The internet has definitely made things like cringe culture a lot worse. Some people go crazy with the anonymity they think they have, which, by the way, you're never really anonymous on the internet. And they say horrible things to random people who are just trying to be themselves and have fun. And the algorithm encourages and even rewards this type of behavior. The next time you go on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, I want you to see how long it takes for you to see something or someone being made fun of. I want you to see how long it takes for you to get angry at something and have the urge to comment something mean. It's not very long, is it? I'm not trying to say you're a horrible person if you've ever had a mean thought, because at the end of the day, it's the thoughts you act on that show who you are as a person. But it's interesting how different some people act online compared to how they act in real life. I remember being 8 or 9 years old on YouTube and coming across a specific type of content, cringe compilations. I specifically remember watching Sans Fangirl cringe compilations. If you know, you know. But at this age, I didn't really know what cringe meant, and I would only watch those kinds of videos to actually watch animation memes or whatever the video was making fun of. But obviously, as I got older, I realized those videos were made to make fun of people. I don't think cringe compilations are inherently bad. I just think they've gotten more brutal over time. Cringe compilations used to be like epic fails. There were the occasional weeaboo or convention cringe compilations, but I think those were made more to laugh at people who were creepy, but I wouldn't know because I never watched those videos and I have absolutely no desire to. Cringe compilations are still a thing today, but they feel more sad. Most of the time, it's just someone who's a minority or a literal child, and it's just not funny. And this isn't just a recent thing. Cringe compilations were pretty much born from bullying. There was never a time where you can find a cringe compilation that wasn't just bullying in some way. Again, I don't really know what I'm talking about here because I have no desire to watch cringe compilations, but either way, it's easy to notice how comfortable some people on the internet can get. For example, Instagram Reels. If you've been on Instagram Reels for more than like 5 minutes, you've probably noticed how brutal people are on there. I see so many videos that have more shares than likes because people are sending it to their friends to laugh at it. And if you open the comments, it's filled with the most awful things you can think of.
Guys, look at this video I took of a red bird.
First of all, that bird is blue. Second of all, that bird came up to me this morning and it told me that you're a worthless piece of shit.
Hey, here's a funny, stupid little skit I made. It's not serious at all.
Your mom giving birth to you was the worst mistake anyone ever made in their entire life, and even she admits it.
So today I'm gonna go to the farmer's market and I'm gonna take you guys with me.
That's literally not true because I'm gonna personally kill you.
Hi, it's Editing Glitterbug. The next clip that I'm going to show has a lot of slurs, and it's a video of an Instagram comment section, and it's about a disabled child. So if you want to skip, go to this timestamp on screen. Okay, take care of yourself.
Slurs, cursing, bigotry. It's actually horrible. Instagram comments are filled with the most mean, miserable people ever who spend all day online hating others. It's like they have the internet version of road rage. Those people are incapable of feeling anything but hatred, I swear. I honestly don't want to get too much into this because it's just that bad. But if you've ever been on Instagram, you probably know what I'm talking about.
I wanted to talk about conservative ideologies for a little bit and how that connects to cringe culture. Conservatism is an ideology that promotes and preserves traditional customs and values. In America, this can mean nuclear families, the military, organized religion, etc. Now, I don't really know that much about politics, definitely not enough to make any meaningful observations, but I think anyone can tell that America is somewhat shifting towards conservatism lately, and it's scary. Maybe it's just because I'm older now and I kind of know the world a bit better, but I have definitely noticed a lot more bigotry in the world compared to when I was younger. But there have always been communities that fight against and speak up about this kind of stuff, like punks and goths. Being punk or goth or alternative in general is inherently political, whether you intend it to be or not, because, you're fighting against the norm and refusing to conform to society's standards. Most alternative music is political, especially in the punk rock community, which many genres stem from. But I think some people are getting too comfortable now, like people who are claiming to be conservative goths. Alternative culture is losing its roots in general, but that's a whole other conversation. In my opinion, I think part of this is caused by the fetishization of goths. Goths are no longer such a small community these days, and I think a weird amount of people only know goth as, quote unquote, goth dommy mommies. People hate anyone who dresses differently until they're hot enough for their standards. If you compare traditional goth to the goth dommy mommies, the latter is significantly more normal. Traditional goths have huge, messy, teased hair, white face paint with bold eyeliner, maybe even like a crazy haircut or unique piercings, while goth mommies have straight black hair, a tiny bit of eyeliner, and some black lipstick, and casual clothes but black. Maybe they'll have fishnet tights if you're lucky. Obviously, people can dress however they want. I'm not trying to say you're awful if you dress in that kind of style. I'm mostly talking about people who do it only for fetishization, People
hate alternative fashion until it's fetishized. People hate genderqueer people until it comes to fetishizing femboys. People hate queer people until it comes to fetishizing gay or lesbian people. I could go on and on about this, honestly, but let's talk about my next subject.
The next thing I wanted to talk about is the whimsical communities that have been rising online, especially on TikTok. The whimsical aesthetic, or as I'll be calling it, whimsycore, is kind of a weird thing to explain. I think this type of person is kind of like a manic pixie dream girl. You can usually see videos of people who like the style dancing or lip syncing to music like Kimya Dawson, and they may also wear lots of layers, accessories, fun colors and patterns, and glittery makeup or fun face paint. There's also a lot of imagery like ladybugs, fairies, unicorns, sparkles, and all things fun. It's a very childish style, and I don't mean that as an insult. I think a lot of it comes from embracing your inner child, and it most definitely is political. Again, I'm not the best person to be explaining politics, but I think a video by the user Zayutina on TikTok, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, I'm so sorry, but I think her video explains it pretty well. She explains that the whimsycore aesthetic is inspired by subcultures that formed in the 1970s after the Vietnam War and the Watergate scandal. The political fatigue, as she describes it, made people turn to entertainment like music or dancing, which formed subcultures like disco, rock and roll, and folk music, which you can very much see the whimsycore aesthetic takes inspiration from. And as I've spoken a bit about before, rock music is very political. I don't want to just repeat everything she says in her video, so I'll link it in the description so you could kind of understand what I'm getting at. The whimsycore aesthetic is all about being yourself, romanticizing your life and the small things about it, and just enjoying and living your life. I'm a huge fan of this aesthetic, and I love the fact that so many people are trying to make this a thing, making it normal to be yourself. However, there has been a lot of fighting within this community. One popular kind of video these whimsycore creators make is how to be whimsical videos. They're basically slideshows of ideas of what people can do to make life more whimsical or fun. Some people see these videos and say the only way to be whimsical is to be yourself, not following TikTok instructions, or it's a mindset, not an aesthetic. I do agree that it's a mindset more than it is an aesthetic, but what's wrong with people getting ideas on how to make life more fun from the internet? I really think it's not that much of an issue. Not only that, but since the whimsycore aesthetic has been gaining popularity, there's always a group of negative Nancy's saying that it's cringe. And this happens with every single community. There's no exceptions. People calling others whimsy performative or cringe is far too common for a community that's all about being yourself. There's also tons of people only trying to be whimsicore because it's a trend, or, still being mean and bullying people while claiming to be whimsical and saying, I'm literally a unicorn. I think as long as nobody is getting hurt and everyone is being kind, people should be whimsical, even if it's quote unquote fake. I mentioned the whole Bring Back 2016 thing in the intro, and I said the entire reason it didn't work is because people were afraid of being cringe. Most of the posts about 2016 are just like Unicorn Frappuccino, Snapchat, Kylie Jenner, Justin Bieber, and of course, it being the internet, people also fight over whether this is accurate to the era or not, instead of, having fun. I don't know about you guys, but in 2016, I was still pretty little, but I loved animation memes, Roblox, Melanie Martinez, Pastel Goth. I was always considered the weird kid, which is fine. I wouldn't have it any other way. I can't say for sure why this trend didn't work, other than people getting tired of it and moving on. Every trend dies, and that's okay.
I think part of the reason is people being mean about it, trying to make it perfectly accurate to the era, like I've mentioned before, or people being unnecessarily rude to people who are too young to remember 2016. Some people take trends like this way too seriously instead of just having fun. Even if you don't like said trend, it's not that hard to scroll past or even block someone, and that goes for pretty much everything too. There's also people being like, I don't want to bring back 2016 because the year was bad for me personally. Nobody is expecting you to like go back and redo all the bad things that happened to you that year. The trend is basically just aesthetics in music. If you've heard of the bean soup theory or the what about me effect, as it's also called, that's literally just that. Another reason I think this didn't work is because it doesn't feel the same as the past, and it probably never will, which is fine. I think we as a society just need to go back to enjoying ourselves like we did when we were younger. And I think that's a big reason why people are so nostalgic for 2016 and nostalgic in general, because they were happier in the past. There was also a time where people were trying to bring back 2020, but this is a little different. 2020 was a bad year for everyone because of quarantine. I personally think why people wanted to bring it back is because they wanted to experience it again now that life is a little easier, but it could just be nostalgia as well. This trend had the same problems as the bring back 2016 trend, which I talked about before. I think if people were really serious about it, they wouldn't treat it like a trend. They would, dress like it's 2020 in their daily life and generally just have fun. And that goes for the 2016 trend as well. People are just too afraid of being cringe. The thing about the 2020 trend compared to the 2016 trend is there are so many people like making fun of it. You could argue that they're making fun of the era itself or making fun of their past selves, but still, there's so many videos people making fun of the way people would dress, the Junko or anime poses, the makeup, whatever. So, what can we do about this? It's not like we can just make society change. I think how I've kind of coped with this is being kind. It sounds simple, but it's actually a lot harder than you think. For some people, it's pretty difficult to learn self control, but I think it's definitely worth it in the long run. Learn to be kind to your family, friends, strangers, the world, and yourself. Learn how to be yourself because life is a lot more fun when you can be yourself without caring about judgment. Learn how to not care about judgment. You only live once, and we're all gonna die one day, so why not have fun while we can? Of course, all of this is easier said than done, but I think putting in the effort to make that mindset change is definitely worth it. You won't be perfect, nobody ever will be, but it's enough that you're trying. TLDR, be kind and have fun. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, my first ever video essay. Criticism is welcome in the comments since, I have no idea what I'm doing, but, be kind about it, obviously. I plan to make more videos like this in the future, so please like and or subscribe if you're interested in seeing more from me. That's all I got for now, so have a good rest of your day. In my opinion, I think part of this is caused by the fetishization. In my opinion, I think part of this is caused by the fetishization. In my opinion, I think part of this is caused by the I'm in the middle of recording and my sister asked me to beat Giga Queen for her. What the hell?